Today, we hear words passed down through generations from the book of Ephesians. Let us listen to these words of the Spirit. I, therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beg you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, making every effort to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. There is one body, one Spirit, just as you were called to the one hope of your calling, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in all. But each of us was given grace according to the measure of Christ's gift. Hear what the Spirit is saying. Thanks be to God.
One other quick announcement. If you haven't noticed, we're singing off recordings today, which means we're relying on you to be a little bit louder today. Our substitute for this today, Diane's out of town, could not be here today, so we recorded his music, and Wayne Dietrich, who you all have known, he's played for us before, couldn't be here this morning due to the snow that is coming, and we wanted him to be as safe as possible, so we invited him to come in yesterday and record his music. So we need your voices today. To sing out of tune if you have to, but to be loud and do it joyfully, as our founder, John Wesley, would want us to do. So we have started this season of Lent, a season of 40 days plus 6. If you count the Sundays, it's 46 days within the season of Lent, where we typically give something up, where we let go of something that we find is blocking us from being a more full person, a thing that might be stopping us from connecting with God in the ways that we want to. So whatever you are giving up for this season of Lent, we are not here to judge what you're giving up for Lent, because you've named that as something that is important to you that you let go of. And during these 40 days, if you find yourself going and getting that piece of chocolate that you have sworn off during this time, don't worry. We forgive you. Just restart. Find ways to figure out, why did I do that? Why did I go back to that thing that I was trying to give up, and start again? This is a season of looking inwardly so we can grow closer to God. And during this season of Lent, we have a sermon series that we're calling Trivial Pursuit, which I'm sure many people in this room have at the very least have either heard of or have played. During my late 20s, I had a very close friend of mine. I would go over to his house, and we would just read the cards back and forth, trying to answer the questions from the good Genesis 2 version, where there's a lot of questions about the USSR. That is no more. We were cool dudes, I can tell you what. But this game, Trivial Pursuit, it was a game that was made in the 1970s by two sports writers who just really enjoyed trivia. And they wanted to make a board game out of it. So they made this game where you had to answer different questions about history, entertainment, sports, literature, science. And as you would answer these questions, you moved around a board trying to get pie pieces, right? That you tried to fill up your pie. And as you filled up your pie, you go to the middle, and then you have to answer one last final question to win the entire game. But the name Trivial Pursuit is a play on words, right? To know all of this knowledge across the board, from entertainment to sports to literature and history and science. What good is it really in the end? It is a trivial pursuit to know all of this. Now, while it's a fun game, and it's fun to know that knowledge, I mean, it's grown into bar culture as well, where they have trivia nights at bars nowadays. It is fun to be able to retain this knowledge that you have received over the years, that you probably remember from civics classes and science classes from when you were in high school. So it's great to be able to live within that. So we're calling this sermon series Trivial Pursuit Because we're going to be talking about perfection and our want and need to be perfect in all the things that we do, and how that too can be a trivial pursuit in life. This snowstorm that's coming through is bringing back all of the memories I've ever had of living here on the East Coast, knowing when a storm was coming in and getting ready for it. In my 20s, I worked at a church in D.C., very large church, that never closed, ever. They prided themselves on this. In fact, during the race riots in the 1960s following Martin Luther King's death, they stayed open while there was rioting in the area as a space for folks to come who needed to be safe. But also, when blizzards came through, they stayed open as well. So being on staff of this, I've heard these stories over and over and over again. I decided that when a great big blizzard was coming through D.C., I was going to sleep in the church and help them dig out the next day. I don't know if you've ever slept on a pew before, but it's not the most comfortable thing in the world. It's stories like this where we try to attain certain things that can sometimes hurt us in the long run. Now, I'm not saying that working hard is a bad thing. I'm not saying that caring about something so deeply that you want to work and be really good at it is a bad thing. But there are times in our lives when we focus too much on something and it takes away from who we are as a person. It steals away from the ways in which we can work on projects or care for our family or do things that take the joy out of what we're trying to do. That strive to perfection that blocks us from being whole and holy people. So in the passage that Lucas read for us this morning, it's a story from the book of Ephesians, which is a letter to this city of Ephesus in Turkey, where he is reminding the church at this time, which is just a small gathering of people who are meeting in a house, that God has placed something within all of their hearts, has placed something within the marrow of who they are, to be people within a community that's in the midst of transition, that's in the midst of fear and uncertainty, and to remind them that God is doing good within their lives. It's not just something that they are doing all by themselves, but God is also an agent within the creation of all these things, whispering in their ears to do the good that they can, but also whispering in their ears to take breaks when they need to take breaks. As well as to see everyone in this community as those same agents of good and change, even the people that they disagree with and who they refuse to eat with, who the people that they see that are walking on the other side of the road from them, they might dart down an alleyway to avoid them. These people too are agents of change that God has placed something within them. So this is a reminder for the people of Ephesus, the Ephesians, that God is always at work. And God has always been at work. And to find ways to be humble so that they can see the good that is within other people. We've been collecting records recently. I should back that up. I've been collecting records recently. Jay over here has given me some of his records as well. And while I was looking through Jay's records one day that he wasn't playing anymore, I came across some show tunes, of which he had many. I said, our girls are really into musicals right now. So I started leafing through those, and wouldn't you know it, he had The Sound of Music. So I brought The Sound of Music home. Now, as Meredith will tell you, I have not seen The Sound of Music until about 3 weeks ago. So I knew culturally what was going on within the movie. I just didn't know how it ended. I knew the song. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I get it. But then I ask her what happens at the end of Star Wars, and she says, I don't know. So it's a give and take relationship. We love each other so very much. But we started listening to these songs on the record. And then I said, I think it's time. It's time that I watch The Sound of Music. So we sat down and we watched it. I finally found out what happens at the end, which is great. But right there, in the middle of the entire movie, is this story of a father who has these fantastic children, but how also they're very regimented they are, right? He blows on his fife, and they come down the stairs. He blows on his fife again, they say their name, and they step back in line. There are times when they need to be studying, there are times when they need to be eating. Everything is laid out to a T so that he can control the situation, right? So that he can have this perfect family. In the hopes that this nanny that they've now brought in can help out with some of the lighter work. Perfection is something that can get in the way of our relationships as well. While we might want to have the perfect family, sometimes it can eat us up as well. Making sure the clothes and the toys are put away. Making sure that we're eating at the exact right time every single day so that we can get into a flow of things. But things can get lost in our perfection over time. There's this hole-in-the-wall spot that I go to every once in a while where the food is solid. And every time I go there, the same guy is working the cashier as well as behind cooking the food. Great guy. Very responsive, hospitable, talk your ear off about whatever. He wants to take his small little place and turn it into a catering business as well. So I'd start talking to him about this because I have a little bit of knowledge about this. And as we're talking one day, he says, yeah, I've hired people before to help me grow this business, but they never get the spices right on the food. I said, well, your food is delicious. I get that. I said, when was the last time you took a day off? He's like, I don't know. It's been a couple of months. Perfectionism can also put blinders on us as well, where we try and create the most perfect meal we ever possibly could so that we want other people to enjoy what we've made. But by not seeing our own shortfallings, by saying, I am the only one that can do this, no one else can, it stunts the possibilities of doing other things, of growth, of teaching others, about taking your vision and making it bigger. Within the book of Ephesians, we see some of this happening. When we focus on our own perfection, when we focus on the things that we want to happen, without allowing God in, with saying, I'm only doing this by myself and with no one else's help, we begin to close ourselves off from what we could be if we just let go just a second from our own perfection and seek to understand how God is creating perfect things within us already. Perfectionism is a real thing that can destroy us and make us less of a person. It can lead to anxiety. It can lead to fear of failure. It can lead to thinking that we have the only answer out there, so we need to be on the floor every single day in order to make this work properly. I wonder if you've ever been in a situation, either at work or at school, when you have a supervisor who only points out the faults that are going on, right? This is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Used to work in a restaurant where a manager would come by with a white glove and run their finger to see if there was dust anywhere. This is wrong. Make it better. Focusing on what was wrong rather than what has happened that was right that day. You are not perfect would be the message that they shared. Those things hurt, right? Makes you not want to be in those places, to be around those people, all in the sake of trying to create something that sometimes is unattainable. Friends, we all battle with perfection. We all battle with trying to make something absolutely 100% without fault, without holes. But when we fall short, what does that say to us about who we are? Now, during this season of Lent, I invite you to take a look at your own perfections in life, the things that you're striving for. And are you leaving enough room for mistakes? Are you seeing within yourself that perfection is not possible by yourself? But perfection is possible with the help of others. And perfection can come into being with God. So friends, during these next 40 some odd days, I invite you to let go. To know that there are unhealthy things within you right now, that when you let go of them, it might hurt in the beginning, but by the end, you'll be glad that you let them go. Because it is through finding the imperfections in our life that we see that life is fuller than it ever could be. So walk with us as we talk about the perfect work-life balance, as we talk about the perfect relationships or raising the perfect children, as we talk about the fear of failure, as we ultimately head to the resurrection and seeing where God's grace leads us. So walk with us. See and recognize that you are not perfect, but God is there to help fill in the cracks. Amen.